Matchmaking is really good in this game. That's kind of brutal. I hope you had fun with it, though. Actually, it might make sense. I didn't touch Pig in more than a year, so she might actually have fresh memory. It's more suspicious when I queue up as a killer that I play a lot of. And get matched with people that just have no business being in my game. They can always die and go next, though. It's fun to play M1 loop beats sometimes. God, Leon looks so silly with a party hat.
DP eat?
Usually. It depends on the current patch. Some metas encourage it more or less. And it also depends on how hard I win. On this patch, the most common reason for me to bleed out survivors is to put somebody on death hook. If you're the last survivor in a trial, you can't unhook yourself, you don't get value from deli, you can't use wicked, there's no base 4%, there's no slippery meat, nothing like that. So we usually bleed out the second to last survivor at least. If the person wiggles, sometimes we bleed them out too. It's just better. There's no reason not to do it, it doesn't cost you anything. It converts to win. It also makes perks like off the record or will make it much worse. It makes decisive strike worse, it makes dead hard worse, obviously. If you're not being unhooked, you're not dead harding me. Hatch doesn't happen. Why do I need pips for BP? I have everything. I'm done with the grind. The only thing that matters is MMR. It's kills and escapes. If I'm at a low MMR, then there's all the more reason why I should be doing this. Pips have nothing to do with MMR. It's just kills and escapes. My pig MMR probably is fresh, but that's just because I haven't played pig. And presumably that will correct itself in a few games as I trash lobbies just like this one. The other problem is that MMR is capped. And so once you hit the surf cap, which is currently at 1600, you can be matched with everything. There's not a difference between this and 1600 in my lobby. So even at MMR, if I'm going to queue up as a killer that I play, be it Wesker, Nurse, the Unknown, things that I played many games with, you still run the risk of a lobby being completely trivial. Well, I play for fun. It's a joy. If you don't understand the pleasure of converting a one game, then I don't know what to tell you. Is it my favorite thing in Dead by Daylight? Probably not. I actually prefer the games that I lose. Unfortunately, I don't get a ton of those. I'd love to have more back and forth games. Or even uphill games. I closed hatch in the face of the Leon bot so that they couldn't get value at distance from adrenaline. I have 23,000 hours in Killer. I think most people are babies to me. You didn't hear what I said. I actually have more fun when I lose. Don't get me wrong, this is a labor of love. I do enjoy this. But winning isn't my favorite thing in this game. It's not even in my top 10. Would you be in favor of behavior going back on their decision to lower the soft cap and making a MMR a little bit stricter? Would you be okay with waiting in queue for longer to play, if it meant having a more competitively matched match, where the killers and the survivors were a little bit more even and you didn't have like really lopsided lobbies like this one? I think that'd be pretty cool. I take no precautions to make sure there's no chance I lose. Quite the opposite, really. I'm actually playing a low-tier killer. If I needed to make sure I wouldn't lose, I shouldn't be playing Pig. I think that toxicity is in the eye of the beholder. One thing I tell people all the time is that if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. And it's usually a maturity thing. Similarly, if you find people are being toxic to you, if you feel like a bit of a victim, or if you feel that you're being bullied, that's normally a projection thing too. I actually prefer to be very kind. Be nice to them, they're trying their best. I have never played a game that I didn't have fun. Not in DBD. Do you think I would put this much time in the game if I didn't love it? You told me that. Personally, I don't feel that way, I don't see it. But you're welcome to your take. I'm okay with that. I might be a little bit biased because I personally really like when people have strong opinions. I think it's healthy, especially for guys. So even though I don't agree with anything that you said so far, I'm kind of fond of everything you told me. So thanks for sharing your thoughts. I'm sorry if I seem like super dismissive or like moral high ground or whatever. I don't mean to come off that way. I think you're funny. Oops, Kate wasn't ready. Maybe someday, if the win condition changes, I'll play differently. Or if there's like a different scoring system, like what they do in private leagues or like in comp, it would make sense. But as long as the game is this is definitely the way to play. Especially the way a lot of these have been going. Like if I get my tunnel really early, and I'm incentivized to play for that a little bit more with perks like Grim Embrace and Corrupt being a thing in their current form, then the slug becomes really good. And if they're trying to have fun, I am sure, there's no doubt in my mind, that they are. Nobody's gonna stop them from having fun. I agree with you. There's also the other like angle, right? That this isn't a tournament. This isn't like some type of like really competitive thing with like stakes and priority for me. Like I don't have to win this. And so there's a difference between playing for performance and maximizing your chance of winning and playing for improvement. A Warcraft player, Grubby, very recently made a very good video on the topic. If you're playing for improvement, you should go out of your way to try and find challengers and try to push yourself and get out of your comfort zone and play in whatever conditions that your competition would be, right? You should try to be in your best form, you should try to min-max, and you should try to do things that maybe aren't objectively the best thing to do, but they have the best scoring percentage for you. If you're playing for performance, that's the opposite. Like, the things you do to win and the things you do to get better aren't necessarily the same. And I personally like to play for improvement because I just find it more fun. Granted, a lot of things that I do coincide with winning more, that's okay. But for the most part, I kinda don't give a shit. I really do care about being earnest and being very honest with how I play, and putting in like a little bit of elbow grease. I think it's like if you put more in, you get more out of it. It's kind of like going to the gym. I think that it's hard to love something that you don't know, and it's hard to love something that you don't participate in. And so when I play like this, I'm giving the survivors a firm handshake. I'm a very hardy player. I like to be a little bit excitable. I like to put a little bit of effort in. I think it makes the game more fun. How am I stopping them from having fun? You know that you can't play Dead by Daylight by yourself, right? They need a killer player. Just like I need them. I need survivors or I can't kill anybody. Shouldn't we be getting along? I never said I avoid these things. Those were your words and I didn't agree with you. I'm a little bit tipsy right now, so maybe I'm not being super articulate. Instead, I'll actually link you the video, because Grubby himself can probably explain it better than I can. At least in my current condition, obviously. No, I've had fun playing this game. I've been slugged before, I've been bled out in Dead by Daylight, and I've never played a game that I didn't have fun. Like I said before, if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. And that's okay, I think we've all got some growing up to do. Here you go. This is what I'm talking about playing for one mindset versus another, trying to win versus trying to improve. And I personally really like when I have problems in this game that I fail to solve. Some of my best experiences in Dead by Daylight have been matches I've lost. Even sometimes when they were like wasted opportunities. I like to sweat, I like the crisis management that comes from a rough position, and it's really exciting too, it's cathartic. If you can bring it back, if you can find a win condition. If you can like turn the tables, and if you can't, it's like really nice to have that wall and something to climb, and I think it makes you better. I do. I think it's a participation trophy generation thing. You gotta remember that DBD isn't all PC players. You also have like children and stuff using like their Xbox passes and like trying it out, or all manner of things. And there's also kill rates and statistics, where we have a culture in DBD. You saw this with Slinger and Spirit, where people DC to paired stats and try to get killers they don't like nerfed. It's a political thing. And like you were saying as well, that, oh, it's not fun to be bled out, or it's not fun to this or that. There are people that feel the way that you do, and there are people that have been misled and told the things that you're saying. And so maybe they're just not having a good time. You don't know what their situation is in life. They might have just went through a divorce, they might have lost their home, they might have gotten a bad grade at school. So let's try to be compassionate. And the other thing as well is that Dead by Daylight, it's the only game in its genre. This isn't like we're playing an RTS game that had Blizzard and EA RTS games before it, right? This isn't like a fighting game where you had Tekken, where you had Street Fighter. This isn't an esport. And so you have a lot of people here that aren't gamers, that aren't esports players, that we're not athletes. We're horror movie fans. And a lot of people, I think, were sheltered from sports, from competition, and from trying to strive against each other. And so if you have some soy-infused, gentle person who is really sheltered and you beat them in the video game, there are people that don't connect with that, they don't interface with that, they don't understand that. So they don't think that you are playing the game against them, they think you're playing against them. And then they feel like they're being bullied and think sometimes people run away. If they're not having fun, whose fault is that? I'm operating under the premise that if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. And if this helps them grow up, then good. You know that empathy is like one of the most important skills for killer players. If you want to be good at killer, you need to be able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Both on an individual level, it's important in chase. It's important to understand like decision making. But you also have to be able to understand the team. That's how you find resets. That's how you find win cons. That's how you engage without pressure. I mean, you can blame me. My shoulders are broad. I'm comfortable being like the heel, right? Or being rooted against. I don't mind that. But I would say it's their fault. And then they have to be like less dramatic and they have to learn how to have fun. Well, then if I'm scared of losing, devil's advocate, let's say you're right, that's really repressed. That's like really deep down. Personally, I don't feel any fear. I don't feel any discomfort. I like when I lose. I think it's fun. And I think it makes me a better player. You know, sometimes when my games are too easy, I kind of feel like they get a little bit complacent, or like they're gonna make me worse at the game. I think it's healthy to really struggle. And I don't mean to argue with you, I mean, I'm totally okay with your takes. By all means, like, go off. I don't take every precaution, I'm literally playing pig. And I'd argue I'm kind of playing pretty chill. Like, I'm talking to you, right? I'm reading chat. I'm not focusing on the game. I'm playing tipsy. I've been drinking. I'm also sleep deprived. How sweaty could I be? I'm playing like 50% on a weak killer. If this is being like quote-unquote sweaty and like taking precautions against losing, oh my god, you should see me when I'm like really into it. You've got no idea. Then again, like, how would you, right? And you know, it's kind of fun to play against survivor perks. One of the cool things about playing killer is like all the really random and transformational stuff survivors can have. And what it means, the significance of different perks changes in different game states. Like, one of the reasons I play so much Killer and very little Survivor is that there's so much more that you have to do as Killer, and there's so much more that you get to think about. I think it's so rewarding. I get off on it. I told you I have 23,000 hours as a Killer player. I've only played like 1,000 hours as Survivor. Maybe less. Yes! That's the counterplay to a lot of these perks. The dead hard that extends the tunnel on 3 gens pop, and then I have an indefensible 3 gen and the team might win, is very different than the dead hard that never happens because I slug somebody and they never got on hook to activate it. It's like a discussion between survivors and the killer. They're trying to get the best version of events, and I'm trying to give them the worst. And vice versa. You know that chase works that way too, right? When you chase a survivor, there's so many different 50-50s. Some of them are true 50-50s, some of them are one side has more control than the other. I do. That's what going against them means. It definitely makes sense. I am going against them. Survivors have 16 perk slots, and part of the fun is that I don't know what they are. And so you make judgment calls on how you can best play against everything. There are many perks in this game that give value even if they're not there. I play differently because Unbreakable, for example, exists. Even if a survivor never used Unbreakable again, it changes the game just because it exists. It changes how and when I slug. And it really skews like how much of a risk versus reward it is. Especially scaling with like both players' pressure, right? Unbreakable, for example, is a really good example. It doesn't have a specific standard value. The impact something has scales with the pressure each side has. There's elements of skill, there's gameplay, there's game expression, there's game state, there's how various 50-50s went. Map design, map RNG, the different killer versus survivor matchup. Ping changes like how things matter. And being able to range estimate that and try to really grapple and control everything, that's such a pleasure. And that's what makes killers so fun. That's what it's all about. Like, nobody wakes up in the morning and decides to upset people. I might never see these people again. It doesn't matter. But what I will have is Dead by Daylight, and I love this game. This is what I do for fun. I can be as rude as you need me to be. It doesn't matter. Especially today, I mean, people get offended over everything. I went to college, right? In a school that had safe spaces in the stairwells. Where people could go to cry between classes if they didn't appreciate the pressure of academia. I'm mostly like hands off, and I mostly don't care about those things. But I am somewhat against them. I think they're slightly degenerate. I think if you're that fragile, you're gonna have a hard time when it comes time to work. And if this helps people to be a little bit better and a little bit stronger, then I'm happy to help. That can be my 2 cents to the good. Not that I have such a noble goal. I mean, I'm not trying to play therapist or father figure here. I think nature has a funny way of sorting those things out all on its own. People have been playing games or sports for as long as humans have been around. They have their functions, they have their purposes. And you don't really have to think about it too much. Well, we've already established that it's their fault they're not having fun. Even if I was being rude, like, does that matter? Does that have any bearing on them? Does it affect them? Not really. They've got bigger problems. I think one of the things that helps you to get good at a game, or good at like a skill, or better at just managing your own like mental health and emotions is accountability. There's gonna be one person that looks at themselves and like grows and matures, and somebody else that like points the finger. One of them is gonna grow, the other one isn't. I think there's a type of natural selection to it. No one's forcing them to do anything. They can tab out, they can leave the game, they don't have to play, they don't have to queue up to begin with. They also don't have to be slugged, they can beat me. Maybe they work together, maybe they juiced me, especially like playing this, right? Pig's loot bait. Is anybody being forced to watch paint dry though? Maybe they have perks and they can try to do value. Maybe they can like reflect on being slugged. They can like process that. I told you that empathy is very important for killer players. You also benefit as a survivor player from empathy too. You need to understand game states, and like you can't think about these things all during the game. Okay, then have your hypothetical. Like you need to make split-second decisions. And so the opportunity to like think about and digest and process things, that's really valuable too. It's not like you turn your brain off when you lose. And you also have to realize that it's only 4 minutes. The bleed timer isn't long. And there's things you can try to do. You can try to instigate hatch plays and stuff. You can push for value. If they're trying to have fun, I hope they do. I don't think I'm ruining it. And I don't mean this as an attack on you, but I don't think you know how to have fun. I don't think you know what you're talking about. But that's okay. I don't know where you are in life right now. For all I know, I could be old enough to be your dad. So I'm not gonna like argue or be too critical with you. And even if people aren't having fun some of the time, they could learn how to have fun. I understand what you're telling me, I just don't think you know what you're talking about. I am listening to you, though. I understand what you're saying, and I understand how you feel. That's okay. It's not important, but it's okay. Oh, I love this map. I believe you, but I think that's your fault. You should have fun being slugged. I mean it the nicest possible way, that I think you have some growing up to do. And you should be grateful for being slugged. It's a great learning opportunity. Now, I'm not sure if you were trying to complain, if you were trying to educate me, or maybe like a little bit of both. But you didn't ask some of the questions you had the opportunity to ask. You didn't ask me how to not get slugged. You didn't ask me how you could have won. You didn't ask me what you did wrong. The survivors have a lot of control, not only if they get slugged, but if their teammates get slugged too. And you could have picked my brain to learn about some of that. You still can. I think people thrive and fail based on their own merits more often than not. Then you won't. And I think that's part of why you're not having fun. I think that's the real reason you're not having fun. You're arrogant. Even babies play. Do you know why infants, why babies, why toddlers play so much? It's because that's how humans learn. If you don't know how to play, you're not going to be able to learn anything. And you won't be good at things. And I don't just mean DBD, like you're not going to be good at things in general. It makes somebody so much weaker if they don't know how to play. Like some people are too angry, or some people have too much anxiety. But I think pride can be an even bigger problem. I take the game less seriously than you do. Like, you have a lot of heavy emotions about this. You got worked up over a game, you try to say that I'm not fun, and you try to champion other people. That's a you problem. You already are insane in a way. You're unhinged and you're frustrated about a video game. You're not gonna see me pulling my hair out. You're not having fun because you're doing it wrong. And if you don't need to learn, then I can't help you. You'll have to grow up at your own pace. I can say metaphors and examples until the cows come home, but if you don't want to hear it, it's not going to help you. I guess some people just like to be stressed. I read a really interesting blog about that, and it was like called like loser psychology or something like that. And it talked about how people can be their own worst enemy. I'll post the link if I can find it. Yeah, feel better soon. Thanks for the match, I look forward to playing with you again.